All right. Thanks, John, for the channel. Today we're going to be going over how to build out a rifle. At least some questions that I ask myself when I'm going about this process. Even now, um, even now I'm still asking myself these same types of questions. Okay, but now I just have a little more background experience before I make a purchase. Uh, this is now iteration 4 because I forgot to press the record button last time. But anyway, we'll get right to it. Now, the first question that I ask, whether that's to myself or to somebody that's shooting me a DM, it's the most sensitive one. And I mean that because it's budget. Okay. A lot of people are trying to spend the least amount of money to get the most amount of bang, which is understandable. But in regard to firearms, it truly is. You get what you pay for. And a lot of people say it's pay to play. Uh, and that's unfortunately just the way it is. If you want to buy something cheap, there's corners that are going to be cut to make the price so low. So you're essentially rolling the dice on whatever product that is, whether that's your rifle or an optic or a trigger or whatever accessory. Okay. So establish your budget, spend what you can comfortably spend. Don't put yourself in jeopardy or your family. Okay. So establish your budget and buy accordingly. The next thing, and this seems to have the internet just purely in shambles, is application. People seem to forget that these things can bleed over. At first glance, the normal person wouldn't say that's a GPR, but this is my GPR. With the ammo combination that I use in this weapon system, I get the same speed. Well, same speeds. It's 50 FPS lower, but I'm gonna say same speeds. I get the same speeds out of a 16-inch barrel, shooting 77 grain IMI, Mark 262, Hornady Frontier. If I shoot the standard ammo out of this gun, I get the same FPS out of here if I shoot Black Arc 77 grain. Okay? So why would I not use a gun that's 4 inches shorter with a full size suppressor to get the same velocity out of a 16-inch with no suppressor? So this is my GPR. A lot of people wouldn't agree with that. Simply off of barrel length. This is 12.5. Okay, nobody asks questions. They're so quick to dismiss. But this is my gun, my application. So you need to ask yourself, what is your application? What are you trying to do? Okay, don't build a gun to appease your buddy or to appease Instagram. Build a gun to appease your application. Okay. The next thing is barrel selection. A lot of people don't even talk about this in a rifle how-to video. They buy a rifle, put something on the rifle, and they go train, which is perfectly fine. You definitely can do that. But at the very minimum, ask yourself, does your barrel support what you're trying to do? If yes, go on to the next step. If not, either don't buy that complete rifle or swap the barrel to a barrel that does support what you're trying to do. Now, what I mean by that is if you're trying to shoot, I don't know, half-inch groups or sub-minute groups, whatever, you might want to get a higher end barrel. This is a Bartlein barrel. I mean, there's Criterion, there's Proof, there's Centurion barrels, Sons of Liberty Gunworks. You can do things like that. But what you don't want to do is try and build a precision gun with a pencil barrel, because it's going to heat up, the barrel is going to whip, and your group is going to be all over the place simply from the heat. Okay? We're not even talking about putting a suppressor on there because it's going to droop down. And the same thing for shorter guns. Okay, if you're trying to have high strings of fire, you might want to have a thicker profile barrel. This is a Geisley SOCOM profile. This barrel can sustain higher strings of fire before it heats up compared to this 16-inch government profile barrel. So just little questions like that. Does my barrel support what I'm trying to do? If yes, next step. The next step is optic selection, because this is another seemingly polarizing topic. people people online are continuously, being divided over their optic choice. Okay. I just simply sit back and say, that's not my gun. I'm not worried about them. Because, for example, if you're trying to shoot, let's just say 200 yards, okay? Because right off the bat, everybody's like, I can do that with a red dot. If we're trying to shoot 200 yards in a realistic scenario, not in a war zone or whatever, we're trying to shoot 200 yards. Can you even see 200 yards? Can you see if somebody's holding something? Can you even read that stop sign? Things like that. The answer is probably no. Because at the end of this video, I'm going to hide targets. I'm going to show you an old clip that I took from the first iteration recording. And we're going to see if we can find some targets that I hid in my backyard. And they're within 50 yards. Okay? Because sure, anybody can shoot 200 yards on a flat range with high reflective targets. But if we switch that to some low contrast targets that are trying to hide, i.e. real world, you're going to need magnification. Okay? We can't just point and shoot. Most of us aren't in Afghanistan right now watching this video. Most of us are here stateside preparing for an event that we hope never happens, but we kind of do. Okay? We're on the same page? Cool. So I'm going to show you the downfalls of just a red dot, but also understand that red dots have their place. Okay? Same time that LPVOs and scopes, they have their place, they come with inherent cons. They're heavier than red dots. You have to deal with scope shadow, parallax, leveling the scope out. So everything has give and take. Then you need to ask yourself, what am I trying to do? And once you have that figured out, then you can choose your optic. Okay, but if you're trying to shoot precision, don't buy a red dot and a magnifier just because you train on a flat range with high reflective targets. Because as soon as you take that out into the woods or out into the real world, everything is trying to hide from you. You need to find it. It's hard to find things with just a red dot. And I'll show you that here in a little bit. But as long as your optic combination, keyword combination, as long as your optic combination will facilitate what you're trying to accomplish, run with it. There's no need to upgrade if the answer is yes. But if your optic combination doesn't facilitate what you're trying to do, then it's time to start selling some gear, offloading so you can upgrade. Okay? And what I mean by combination is it could be just a red dot magnifier. It could be just an LPVO with a dot, just a scope, or a scope with a dot of some sort, 45 or 12 o'clock. Okay? Ask yourself those questions. Does your optic combination facilitate what you're trying to do? If yes, next step. So for this next section is something that I think is not talked about enough, and that is trigger selection. All I'm going to say for this section is put a trigger that you can manipulate and actuate safely and comfortably in your weapon. I'm not going to tell you how light to go. I'm not going to tell you how heavy to go. That's on you. It's the whole point of this video is for you to ask yourself questions for your build. This is your gun, your money. These are your questions you need to ask yourself, okay? But just for reference, because I know somebody's going to ask, this is a 6-pound mil-spec trigger in here. This is just a very basic setup. It's a Geisley SSAE-X lightning bow, Geisley National Match, Geisley SSAE-X, and a Trigger Tech Special. Boom. This next step, this is kind of just a bonus. So once your gun is put together and you've taken it to the range, it's tuning. Now think of tuning the same way, we all played Need for Speed growing up. We put our car on that dynamo thing and we saw the little graph go. This is the same thing for your gun. All tuning does for firearms is it extends the parts life of your internals. That's really it. Okay. If your gun is already running reliably, I don't care about the ejection pattern. I don't care if it's overgassed or undergassed. If it is running reliably, you don't need to tune. Would tuning help you? Yes, but you don't need to do it. Okay. If your gun is not running reliably, then you do need to tune. Okay. And more than likely, you're going to be somewhere back here with your buffer weight and your buffer spring. Okay. And this final section right here that we're going to go over is the support equipment for each of those builds. Okay. This is something that you never see anybody talk about online, but these are where the money traps are. So yeah, you could build a super cool CQB gun for less than a precision gun. But what they don't tell you about building a CQB gun is you need a helmet, you need nods, you need a mount for those nods, and that Wilcox G34 that I have over there, that thing is fucking expensive. Okay? So they don't tell you about any of the support equipment. Nods, for example, you need, if you're running duals, you might need a battery pack, you need a helmet, you need a mount, you need something to connect your nods to the mount, you need an IR laser. And if you're running a light with a laser, you need tape switches, unless you have yours with a manual button like I do right here. You need a night vision capable optic, and you need that optic to be somewhere where you can passively aim with it with your nods down. I've never seen a video where anybody ever talks about the support equipment. So what you might spend on a $10,000 precision setup over a couple years, you're in probably about the same amount of money with a night vision capable rig, or with a CQB rig. You see what I'm saying? Now, if you're going to build, let's see, the next one. So we got, for CQB, there's the IR laser, your nods, your suppressor, because it's a CQB gun, unless you want all that concussive noise going off by your buddy's head. Those are definitely things to consider if you're going to build that gun. With a precision setup, you got expensive optics. Not that one, that's a budget optic. You got expensive optics, okay? You got shit like weapon-mounted laser rangefinders, and this is the cheapest one on the market. You got your Raptors, your Mars, I think it's like the Mars L and the Mars H. Those things ain't cheap. I'll probably never own one. Those are like used cars. You got your tripods, and this is the cheapest tripod that I could find from Vortex, and I got this half off. You got your Kestrels, ammunition cost, chrono. And another thing nobody talks about with precision work, because everybody thinks, oh, if I get a sub-minute gun, I'll be a sub-minute shooter. False. You got to work positional work. You got to dry fire those positions to shrink your wobble zone, and it is definitely a perishable skill. So if you don't do it often, that wobble zone opens back up. So being a good precision shooter is just like going to the gym. Okay, so here we are in the backyard, looking down this little hill of doom. But looking through the scope, first thing that we're going to see, we have this OD green Vortex shirt right here, being worn by a full-size IPSC cardboard target. I'm sure you all noticed that thing right off the rip. But probably what you didn't notice is to the right, this right here. Hold this shirt cam still because it's not clamped in. That is a helmet. That is the helmet that I wear when I go do cool guy stuff at night. Right there. Boom. And hopefully, even just from this one optic choice, you see why magnification is important. So if you're thinking about punching through, if you're thinking about punching through any sort of trees, and I'm going to move these targets around too, so we're going to see even farther and farther and farther. Then I'm going to use myself as an example. Downrange, these guns are clear, so I don't want to hear it. Holding my carry pistol, holding my phone, holding other things, and seeing if the optic on one power or its lowest power can even see what the target is doing. So, yep. And this is what it would look like on brightness 10. Oh, it doesn't go backwards. So we'll crank it all the way up. 10. So if you had a red dot, this is what it would look like. And you might not even, the glow might even completely cover. See? But now we're gonna I think it's recording. So now we're just gonna turn this off or get it back to my thermal setting right there. So we're just gonna mag up on the shirt. Boom. There's 8 power at about 38, 40 yards away. So now I'm gonna cut this camera off. Gonna cut the trigger cam off. Hopefully it's still recording. Okay, I guess it's cooperating. Gonna put the 4-16 on here. Just because I had ARCA, it'll be easy. Okay, just looking through. I mean, we can, hopefully this thing is recording and you can see what I see. This is immediately findable. Both targets immediately discoverable. No need to mag up. This is on 4 power, and that's its base power. So I'm gonna go ahead and take this trigger cam off. I mean, there's no hiding from the attacker. Hopefully the trigger cam is recording. It seems like it's cooperating. Next thing, we're just gonna use the 1X on the attacker with the red dot on, or the illumination on, so we can kind of make this faster and kind of give you the same idea of a red dot, and it'll be the same glass quality attacker to attacker, because that's a hollow sun, so that's not really fair. So attacker to attacker, best glass clarity, but a 1X to a 4X base mag. So now I'm going to go down here. I'm going to move these targets, push them a little further back, and see if we can spot them. Okay, so the my other microphone did die, so I apologize for the audio. I'll just go back and voice it over. Yeah, we saw the level 1, easy one, where you could just see the target land against the tree. Now we're going to go into like a more realistic scenario where the target is actually trying to hide from you. And we're going to see magnification versus no magnification, and we're just going to use the attacker so we can have a fair comparison between the glass on 1X as if it was like a T2, because that's a hollow sun, like I said. But yeah, here we go. So I'm going to back down to 1X, turn the brightness up. It's about usable. Turn this on. And start panning for the target. So we're on 1X. Should go all the way from the right. So pan all the way to the left. I don't know if y'all saw the target, but we definitely panned over it, so I'm going to go right to it. This is it on 1X right here. So this would be the red dot comparison. Now we're going to turn the illumination off. Mag all the way in. Shirt and the helmet. Right there. And that is why magnification is important. That's why I generally tend to run LPVOs at a minimum. That red dot is just a placeholder for now. But hopefully this was a good illustration as to why magnification is important, and why they're on my rifles, and that's why they're always a definite contender when I'm building out my rifles. So hopefully the trigger cam caught that. I really hope it did. Getting attacked by Mothra. Keep in mind that these weapon systems are tools. They're not inherently evil. If somebody wanted to do harm and firearms didn't exist, they could easily use a car. They could use a screwdriver or a hammer. So be responsible, like I know all my viewers are, and be smart when you're building out these weapon systems so you're not wasting money. Because like I always say, this channel is all about saving you money. So if simply asking yourself a couple questions can save you thousands of dollars, because I know when I was first getting into this, I was dumb and I was just copying what other people were doing, and it wasn't until I built out a rifle and I was like, this isn't what I thought it was going to be. I was just simply buying what other people said that I needed to buy, and now here I am. All of my carbines have some sort of magnified glass, so LPVO or a scope like the 4-16 Attacker. They all have a very usable reticle with a Christmas tree. Because you can hate me all you want, with the 2-10 loophole, that duplex reticle, ass. Worst optic on the market. You can easily get the Trijicon, the 2-10, primary arms 2-10, and at least those have usable reticles, but that loophole, the loophole just ain't it, because the reticle is unusable. Okay, so in closing, those are the questions that I ask myself when I'm building out a weapon system. What's my budget? How available is the ammo? And what's my use case? Hopefully this video finds you in time. If this is going to be your first build, hopefully the algorithm does its algorithm thing. But ultimately, notice that I didn't recommend any brands. Like I said before, I didn't recommend X brand over that brand, or go budget, don't go budget, because at the end of the day, it's all preference. But keep in mind, like I said with the GPR, every purchase has its pro and a con. A very expensive piece of glass like the Attacker, it might last me forever, but it was expensive. That's the con. Some people think it's too heavy. That's a con for them, not a con for me. So weigh out your pros, your cons against what you're trying to do with that weapon system, and keep yourself in those left and right limits. Okay? Don't try and build a CQB gun with a 20-inch barrel because you care about velocity. Maybe your velocity will come from a different cartridge, whether that be like a 12.5 6.5 Creedmoor or like a 12.5 6 arc, something like that. But don't restrict yourself to internet dogma and internet mantra. Go test things for yourself. And yeah, hopefully this video was helpful to you. Hopefully the trigger cam recorded, because I thought that was a good example of why I have magnification on all of my serious rifles. And yeah, share this video, share it around, like the video, drop a comment if there's any other questions that you ask yourself when you're building something out. But until next time.
So I'm not supposed to look through it and see if I can see if you're holding it? Blind eye? up here. Henry, no. Come here. What? What? Gun? I really don't know. Flashlight? Okay. Stay there.
So the next thing that you should